Today's video is sponsored by petflow.com/ZachGeorge. A few days ago, I made a post on Facebook asking you for questions for this video, and you guys didn't disappoint. We got lots of fantastic questions. Today, I'm going to be addressing reactive dogs, introducing dogs for the first time, what to do to get your dog to behave better when you're not there. I'll talk about how to correct your dog when they're not doing what you want, and I'll also do a little bit on clicker training too. And also, remember, if I don't get to your question in this video, I'm so pleased to be able to have an option for you to be able to get your question answered by me directly if you so require that. And starting at $10 a month, I can answer your dog training questions. I'll have all those details in the description if that's for you. But remember, for the rest of you, if that's not your thing, I've got tons of videos on virtually every topic imaginable. I'm really determined to keep all of our content completely free. I also like these Q&A videos because it gives me a chance to connect with you guys a little bit better. Of course, I'm commonly asked, where do I get my dog food from? The answer to that question is petflow.com/ZachGeorge. Now, I love Petflow because they make sure that my dog food is there when I need it, so I don't have to be bothered by going out to the store and getting it when I run out. Now, sure, first world problems, I get it. It's not that big a deal to go to the store and get your food, right? But if I can have it shipped to my house for the same price and I don't have to do it and it's always there, well, I'm gonna select that option. I found it to be an amazing service. I've been with Petflow for some time. I know a lot of you have as well, and their customer service is second to none. One of the reasons I'm so enthusiastic about having Petflow as a sponsor on these videos and actually giving my business to them as a customer is that they don't sell choke chains, prong collars, and electric collars. I can feel a lot more comfortable about giving my money to a company like that. If you're interested in setting up automatic pet food delivery, all you have to do is select the food you want and how often you want it delivered, and enter code ZACH20 when you check out. That way you'll get 20% off of your first order. I'll have all of the information in the description below. This question comes from Heather. She asks, why in some videos do you use the clicker to train and in other training sessions you don't? Is it a preferable thing, or do some dogs react better or worse to clicker training? It seems like a waste of time if it's not necessary. Wow, that is a good question, Heather. For those of you that have no idea what clicker training is, I'll have a video in the description that will give you an introduction. We have, gosh, what do we have? 30,000+ people per day viewing these videos. That's a huge assortment of different situations, different people, different dogs. So I try and kind of cover my bases there and make sure that I have a method that is really comfortable for a lot of different people. You know, my big thing with clicker training that I love is that it helps people get better at timing. So it may be necessary to use it at first for you if you're really serious about getting fast results, because if you're new to dog training, chances are you haven't gotten really good at identifying the moment your dog does what you like. So I wouldn't say it's a waste of time. The only things that I would require of my students and all of you when working with your dogs is that you keep training super fun for your dog and that you always have their best interest at heart. But really good question, Heather. This next question comes from Germany from someone named Beate? B-E-A-T-E. Hi, Zach, I'm from Germany. I love your videos. They're a great help with my 11-week-old Labrador named Carla. That's cute, I like that. I've got one question. Here in Germany, you often hear the rule, never let dogs who are unknown to one another meet each other for the first time while on leash. In one of your videos about socializing, all of the featured dogs are on leash, though they seem to interact just fine. So is this a rule or just a myth? I would be delighted if you addressed my question in a video. In the video you're talking about, I had them on leash mainly because we were in a public park and there were cars around, so I just wanted to be extra safe in that situation. Otherwise, I may have had them off leash. But the answer to your question is, it totally depends. I mean, this is a vast, wide spectrum and every single dog is different. Some dogs are thrilled to interact with another dog, whether they're on leash or not. Other dogs are like, look, I'll interact with you, but I don't want to feel restrained by the leash because that makes me frustrated. It makes me act all crazy. Now, for you in your specific situation, you have a very young dog, and I think on or off leash is fine for a young dog. It's adult dogs that typically have undesirable behavior when on leash. But the real question here isn't about whether or not dogs act favorably with one another while on leash versus off leash. It's whether or not the dogs should be exercised prior to meeting each other for the first time. That's the big one, because even when two dogs go at it for when they meet for the first time, that's usually due to a lack of an outlet for their energy just before meeting. And so you get all this crazy behavior that is just a symptom of not being exercised enough. So that actually is the most important point. If possible, I like to see dogs introduced off leash together in a safe area, but I would want to make sure that their energy is thoroughly out of them, and of course if they don't have a history of fighting with dogs. If they do, we would approach that a bit differently. This question comes from Hannah. Hi Zach, I'm wondering if I can get advice from my border collie Spiky. He's 2 years old and he's very reactive on lead, constantly lunges as he's been attacked by a few dogs. While we have been on walks, he becomes nervous on lead, but he's fine off the lead. So you can see that some dogs are just fine when they're off the leash, but like we were just talking about in the last question, you have some dogs who are, you put a leash on me, I'm not gonna act civilized. When he is on lead, I try to keep his focus on me and I keep rewarding him with treats and saying that he's a good boy. Am I on the right track and what else can I do to help him? I think you are on the right track based on what you said, but you didn't mention one very important thing, and that is exercise prior to leash training, especially when you know you're going to be around other dogs. It's unreasonable to expect a high energy, highly reactive dog to absorb new concepts at any rapid rate unless they've been exercised. So while you say you've been trying to get his attention on you with the food and all of that, reactivity typically takes a lot of time and you will make very little progress if you are trying to bypass exercising them prior to this type of training. So that's a required step in order to make reasonable progress. Though when we're talking about reactive dogs, I mean, they come in all varieties, so you never know how long it's going to take. Some dogs typically get over this behavior pretty quick. Other dogs have a lifetime of this behavior. Chances are if you're working with a reactive dog though, you have noticed that when you get too close to another dog, that's when the behavior really accelerates and goes crazy. So what do? We create distance until we have compliance. The way I test for compliance typically when engaging another dog with a reactive dog on leash is to ask them to sit. If they don't sit, that generally tells me I'm too close to that distraction and I may even need to go out of sight in order to get the dog to listen to me. So be very patient with that. Exercise beforehand, and I think you see these instances go way down until eventually it becomes a habit. The logic is basically that if you can have enough training sessions in a row where you have exercised your dog and gotten them to behave appropriately, as you can usually do substantially easier if they're exercised, that even if you don't exercise them down the road, they will be so accustomed to listening to you in that type of situation. So it's not as though you have to do this forever before a walk, but if your dog is really bad on a leash, whether they're reactive or they just pull and they're really hyper, playing fetch with them in the backyard or at a local park before doing serious training is strongly advised. If you can't do that, even some indoor fetch is fine. This next question comes from Megan. I would like to know whether or not it would be beneficial for my 1-year-old Maltese poodle to have a canine companion for when I'm not around. I'm gone between 5 to 7 hours a day, 3 times a week for work. And if he would benefit from a companion, should it be another male or female? So generally, I don't recommend that you get a second dog for the purpose of keeping your first dog company. But you do need to understand, usually when this question is presented to me, it's from someone who's having behavior issues out of their dog. I'll say something like, hey, your dog needs exercise. So maybe they'll reason, well, if I get another dog, you know, that'll get them exercised. I have noticed a real strong correlation though between exercise with people versus exercise with other dogs in terms of reduction of undesired behaviors. Exercise with a person, things like fetch, dog sports, even hiking, are much more fulfilling to a dog than simply running around with one another. It also depends on the dog. If you have a super high energy dog, they probably need a little bit more than just another doggy playmate. In your situation, you sound really passionate about your dogs and really want them to be happy, and I appreciate that. So it's really a personal decision. If you feel like you're ready for another dog and you're ready to put in the time to teach another dog, one important note, you can't reasonably teach 2 dogs simultaneously. So if you do get 2 dogs, a lot of people will get 2 dogs from the same litter, for example. You need to be prepared to put that time in with each dog individually. while the other dog's up. So it's twice as much time. Another option for many of you out there is to put your current dog in doggy daycare a few times a week when you are working, and that'll give them the satisfaction of playing with other dogs and keep you from having to raise another dog for the next 10 to 15 years. And there was one more part to your question. If you do get another dog, should it be male or female? Broadly speaking, you're gonna have less instances of aggression with male and female dogs versus same-sex dogs. So, you know, that might be something to think about. However, remember, most dogs are probably gonna get along just fine, even if they are the same sex. This question comes from Tandy. Tandy says, your current videos have been more focused on obedience behavior and house manners, which is great. Will you have more trick training or frisbee videos in the future? Well, I do have a playlist for teaching your dog some tricks. I'll have those in the description below. I love that you asked about that. Tricks are a great way to build communication with a dog and to really take your training to the next level. It's a hard sell to the public, I have to admit though. Most people don't see the virtue of teaching tricks to their dogs. It's where I started out my career. I started off my career doing competitive freestyle frisbee, which was a lot of elaborate tricks combined with frisbees. My last two television shows, Who Let the Dogs Out on the BBC and Superfetch on Animal Planet, center around teaching dogs tricks. So tricks are a wonderful thing to do, but your question is, am I gonna make more videos about them? Well, of course I will. I'm in this for the long haul. I intend to make videos on all sorts of topics. When, I can't tell you, but in the meantime, I would encourage you to check out the playlist I'll have in the description. This next question comes from Fareed. What is awesome with Zach George's style is his motivational techniques, but what is less emphasized, and I'm eager to learn, is how to tell the dog, hey, I don't like this. How do you communicate what you don't like? Because you'll hear me all the time say, you know, find reasons to reward your dog. Let them know what you do like instead of what you don't like. Now, that's not to be confused or shouldn't be confused with, hey, never communicate to your dog what you don't like. To be a positive trainer or teacher doesn't mean that you never communicate to your dog, hey, I don't like that. I don't want you to do that. And that's a common misconception out there. Let's take the classic example of a dog chewing up a couch cushion. If there was a dog chewing up my couch right now, what would I do? Well, I would stop, I would clap my hands, get their attention off of the couch if possible, you know, assuming they hadn't done too much damage, and get their eyes on me, and of course call them over, take the treats from here and reward them, because I'm gonna have treats all over my house at room temperature, dog treats. You should have those scattered throughout your house if you've got a new dog so that you can promptly reward them. That is a form of correction. I got them to stop and got their eyes on me and then was able to reward the fact that they paid attention to me, but I still corrected the behavior. Now, that even would have been unnecessary had I been doing a better job of controlling the environment, something people really struggle with, especially if you're new. What I'm saying is the need to correct undesired behavior is far less necessary when you just do a good job of controlling your dog's environment for that first 6 to 12 months of training. So if your dog isn't in a position to do property damage, they likely don't get in the habit of doing the property damage. Plus, when you have your dog with you virtually at all times or in a controlled environment, you're in a better position to communicate with them what you do like, and of course what you don't like, because even when they're tied to you on leash, they can still get into trouble. They can still start gnawing on the desk or something like that, but you're right there to correct it, get their attention off of the desk onto you, whereby you reward, and you do that with overwhelming consistency. And the more consistent you are, the faster you get the results you want. That really is all there is to it. It's not hard. It's easy to be consistent. There are things in dog training that take more time, like timing, for example, and like getting to read dogs and understanding body language and all that stuff. But being consistent is not difficult, but it does take your commitment, I think. So really good question. If I didn't get to your question, remember on patreon.com/ZachGeorge, I have a system in place where you can get a guaranteed answer from me starting at $10 a month. I'll have all that information in the description. Also, don't forget to set up automatic pet food delivery with petflow.com/ZachGeorge. Remember, every time you go to that link, petflow.com/ZachGeorge, and you end up buying something, a portion of those proceeds go to this channel and allow us to grow the dog training revolution. So if you've got to get it anyway, get it from petflow.com and support positive training in the process. Make sure you're subscribed to my channel and click thumbs up too. I can't wait to see you guys in the next video. I really enjoy these Q&A videos because it's a way to connect with all of you a little bit more personally. So We'll see you guys next time. I had several questions on unwanted barking, so I'm including a video here that will help you with that. I talked a lot about the importance of exercising your dog, namely fetch, in order to begin resolving unwanted behaviors in this video. However, I understand that many of you have difficulties with teaching your dog to let go, bringing the toy back, or staying interested. My video on teaching your dog the perfect fetch should help you out. If you generally struggle with getting your dog's attention, you need to see the Leave It, Look at Me combo video. This will give you the traction you need to break through. Now, of course, if you have a dog, make sure you're subscribed to my channel. Thank you so much to my supporters on Patreon, and I'll see you guys next time.